Welcome to Who's Right, What's Left. I'm your co-host, Melissa Reinhart.
And I'm Matt Neubauer. We're here to discuss some of the important issues that face Americans today and have some civil discourse and banter between friends and parties.
Who's right?
What's left?
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to talk about succession planning in the political realm. I think it's timely, although this will be broadcasting several weeks down the road. We are recording this a week after the first presidential debate, and if there's ever been a more appropriate time to talk about succession planning in politics, I think it's now. So, Matthew, what were your impressions of the first presidential debate last week?
I think it could have gone better. I think both sides could have done better. Neither one seemed as sharp. The gentleman I wasn't a fan of to begin with.
Which person was that?
I think that bordered on elder abuse, having him up on that stage. And the person
That's
I
harsh.
was a fan of was not as sharp as he was in 2016.
I don't think either one was sharp.
Yeah. No, and it's disappointing. It's disappointing, but it was not. It was a letdown.
Okay.
And goes to show why succession planning in both parties is so important.
It's
like
very,
you
very
guys
important.
are for us. I mean, is that our best? Is that the best Republican I saw in the primaries? Certainly the most dramatic. Certainly the most colorful. But I don't know that was our best foot forward. And you guys, no offense, are scrambling for a plan. Like, should he step down? Is he going to step down? But if not, like, who's up to bat?
Right, and I still think they're trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Or just surround him and support him. You know, I don't know what they're going to do. It's going to be interesting November. You know, and we've already recorded a podcast how we're going to feel the day after. But I think this is a good testament as to why succession planning in any environment is really important when it comes to leadership. So the question that we're going to try to answer tonight, and the one I researched, is why don't political parties plan succession more? And lots of different reasons. I don't know if I agree with everything that I found. What are some reasons why you think, in your own political experience, Matt, why political parties don't succession plan more?
I think the reason is the fear of, first of all, I think the party needs to remain neutral as to who they're going to support. You want outsiders to feel welcome to come in. You want that first-time guy to be able to put his name in the ring, or her name, and have as fair a chance. You know, you don't want it to turn into some closed club where you've got to put in your time before you can successfully run for something.
You don't think that needs to happen?
I don't want
Really?
it to turn into a closed club. But on the other hand, I mean, it is nice to see some mentorship. I think good leadership has definitely one of your responsibilities as a good leader, if you're going to leave that post, is to mentor or educate somebody and groom somebody for the next to take over your legacy or your work and keep that moving forward. But yeah, I think those are the pros and cons.
Yeah. I see, like, at least in the Democratic Party here locally, is that we're constantly in an electoral cycle, and having just ran really hard last year, you've ran, there's constant campaigning, whether you're running yourself or helping others. And in party leadership, there's no break for them.
No.
These are volunteer gigs.
Yeah, and it's a full-time job.
It's a full-time job on top of their daytime full-time jobs, So the electoral cycle is real. And then, so the focus is usually on the short term. Who can we get across the finish line in May? Who can we get across the finish line in November? Right. So that is real, and that's legitimate. And I get that. But at some point, you're going to have leadership that you're going to need a new wave of leaders. Right. And I do agree that the mentoring is really important. I see internal power struggles, and I think that's probably what's happening at the national level of both of our parties. The internal power struggles, people not wanting to move over, and look who we have as our two presidential nominees, and we have that here locally too. People want their 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. And so mentoring, I couldn't agree more. And I think we're actually going to agree on a lot of this. But, we live in a political landscape that's pretty uncertain. I think we now have 3 or 4 African-American female Democratic mayors in the state of Indiana. But the state of Indiana is very red, is very conservative overall. Like how, for me as a Democrat, that's pretty... It's exciting and it's exhilarating, but the political landscape still feels very uncertain to me. And at our annual fundraiser at the Obama dinner, we had one of the mayors speak to, you can do it. I did this. And it's like, she's so right. She did do that in her respective city, but Fort Wayne is so very different. The reality here is just very different. That's all I can say. The political landscape here is just so different. Versus a town that's in southern Indiana and is so much smaller than what we are here. I think it's really hard. And I know as a female candidate, it was really hard to get, it's hard for female candidates to get national traction too and financial support because Indiana is just, it just goes red. And it's like, well, no, we're not all Republican. There are, so it's really, really tough. I think the political landscape it's constantly shifting. And it's not shifting. Is it a blue wave? Is it a red wave? Well, there's little blue, little red, and it's constantly shifting, but it's not big leaps and bounds in the state of Indiana.
No, we're pretty consistent.
We're pretty consistent. I mean, we both get our respective wins, and then we get our losses. I think Democrats get more losses, but anyway. So you agree with that the uncertainty of the political landscape?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Yeah.
Do you think current leaders feel threatened by succession planning?
I do sometimes, especially when you've got, somebody's in a spot for so long, you get comfortable in there, and that's your job. You're not going to, most employers, even if you're an attorney or have your own business or something like that, there's not many companies that will allow you to say, hey, I'm going to go play representative for 2 years, or I'm going to go be a senator for 6 years. I'll see you guys in 6 years. Hold my spot.
Yeah.
Don't mess with anything on my desk. That's you've thrown the dice, and that's your job now. So yeah, to be a one-term senator, what a nightmare. I mean, what do you do after that? You better have a damn good degree and be able to roll back into the private sector. And same with mayor or any of these, these other spots.
Right.
My spot is obviously a part-time spot. A city councilman is a part-time spot. County councilman's part-time spot. But once you get into these bigger spots, I definitely think there's a danger in bringing somebody in and showing them the ropes.
Well, you can still experience that incumbent success, though, as a city councilman. Sure. You're successful, you're popular. Are you going to want to mentor someone, Matthew?
Right. I certainly would be fine with it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I know another reason why that's cited why there isn't more succession planning is resource constraints, which to me, it doesn't really take a lot of money to mentor someone. It takes time. Yes. And I know time is valuable. It really is a commodity, but it takes time and it takes expertise. And, I've ran 3 different times and I haven't won, but I've learned so much along the way. And I've had a lot of people sent to me, like, to learn how to start up a campaign and whatnot, what to do and what not to do, and I always make time to do that. I feel like that's the least I can do. I learned the hard way,
yep.
And I want to save someone the pains of learning how I did, what to do and what not to do. But I mean, just imagine, you're in office 10, 15, 20 years. I get in office someday, 10, 15, 20 years. Imagine the mentoring we could do after having all those years under our belt, beyond
Sure.
just how to run a campaign. So I don't know. I don't think it needs to take a lot of money or in those kinds of resources. I think it takes time and to care. I think people just need to care and see the value in building up our leaders. The benefits of succession planning is, it's going to enhance the public trust. I know I heard a lot last year, and maybe with you being a city employee, it's just, this person has been mayor, this person has been in office so long. I'm just so tired of it. I want somebody new. I want something, someone new. That, there would be perhaps a renewed public interest or trust in the election process, if having new blood, if you will. And that offers some kind of strategic advantage potentially if it's capitalized. But, to not succession plan, I just think we're going to have more partisan gridlock. And, it's just going to lead to more further political turmoil. I think we're going to see, the instability that both our parties have, even at the national level. Thank goodness we don't see that here at the local level. That's actually quite scary.
Especially at the national level.
Yes.
I mean, once you get to D.C., I think you should have looked at that. Like, I don't begrudge anybody who is fed up with some local politics and wants to run for office and wants to get in there and throw their hat in the ring. That's more power to you. Outstanding. I would definitely want that to remain a thing. But on the national level, when you're talking about your representatives and your senators and your president, you would think it just doesn't seem like a lot of planning went into this. And again, back to the presidency, it just seemed very Wild West reality TV campaigning. And I'm a little disappointed. One of my favorites was didn't make it far, but he's quiet and laid back. He doesn't have a lot of...
Who is it? Are you willing to share who that was?
I'm a Ben Carson fan. I think.
How did I not know this?
Carson's a classy guy. I think he would
Is
hold
he?
that office well. I think he would hold the office well. I think he would do well. But again, hey, look how laid back and quiet he is. You know what I mean?
I'm just shocked. How did I not know this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, he lost early on, so.
Yeah, thank goodness.
I mean, the Vivek guy was a lot of fun too, with the TikToks
geez.
and the.
Yeah.
He had a lot of good stuff to say, but.
Not succession planning leaves us really vulnerable to donors and special interests too.
Yes.
They build those relationships with incumbents, and they're buying influence potentially. I'd like to think we have ethical, elected representatives, but we know that's not always the case. And the longer they're in office, the more that influence grows and grows and grows. And granted, relationships ideally embolden leadership, but those particular kinds of relationships can also corrupt it.
And you don't want to know that you bought into the next guy as well.
Right.
This is the guy we're mentoring. He's going to be your next guy. Sometimes you do want that fresh start. So I get that is, I think, one of the downsides too is of not necessarily picking someone, but it just seems that there would be so much more. For example, and not to throw you guys into the bus, but I heard rumors.
You guys.
Well, I heard rumors after the big show, the debate, that they had talked about asking him to step aside and running somebody else. But there's who's in the hopper. I mean, maybe there's somebody is. Maybe somebody is, and it's just a big secret. I'd keep that a secret too. But I mean,
hasn't trickled down to me.
Right? Like who would it be? Who would that be? And you would think. And honestly, I don't know who would be for the Republicans either. Like if Trump were to, God forbid, have a heart attack or something, and
or go to prison.
No, that's not. That was all made up. All made up. That was fake news. But if something were to happen, was
that a fake jury?
It was. I wouldn't call them a fake jury. I would say.
I think those 12 individuals would. Okay.
Oh.
Anyway, off topic. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, it just seems like there's not much of a. It just seems really Wild West. I do wish we had more, just more planning. I think on the national level and a little more, just a little more long-term plan. I think we're always looking to that next election. I think we're all worried about November. Who's thought of 2028?
Yeah, I don't think we have the formal structures and processes to identify and groom future leaders. Like you said in the beginning, someone new shows up to the party and we need to, involve them or mentor them. I don't know if mentor them right away, but we need to get them involved. Because, I know when I just started to enter into party politics, I felt like, I kind of had to prove myself. I had to show up, volunteer, and keep showing up, right? Instead of just like, here I am, I want to run for office, and then I started getting mentored. Do you have individuals that just show up at the Republican Party out of nowhere? We don't have that happen all that much. Sometimes we'll have a new face and we'll be like, who is that? Who is that?
Every once in a while, but usually they make themselves known pretty well. I mean, you could, in theory, you could put your name in the ballot and do your thing, sit in your corner and not go to anybody else's event, not talk to anybody, not go to any of the party events. Good. You could do it, but that's not good. I think the last time I remember being confused about who was in the room was when our Secretary of the State's thing came up. When they were campaigning for Secretary of State. Holly was in there for quite some time, had it, and this young man showed up and was pretty quiet, very friendly, but didn't say a lot. But he showed up like often enough. I thought he was a local guy, and I went over and introduced myself to him. It's Diego Morales. He's who ended up winning, and wonderful guy. Great story. I mean, just a great guy, but he did the work. Like, he showed up again to so many events in Allen County. I thought the dude was local, like the first 3 times I saw him, until we spoke. So yeah, there are people who do that, who make the rounds and
wasn't
really
he
put in
fired
the work.
from that office like 2 or 3 times? Am I getting the correct person?
I can't think if that. I wouldn't think 2 or 3 times. And then they rehired him, and then fired him again.
Wasn't that the debate?
Rehired him and fired him again.
And Destiny Wells.
I think that, yeah, they said something about that. How you gonna rehire and fire a guy like 3 times and he'd be no good?
I think we have some short-term memory.
I think he's doing a great job.
Okay.
Shout out to Diego.
Anyway, I think accountability is really important.
Yes.
Checks and balances are really important. Succession planning, I just think it needs to be prioritized.
Yeah,
I really do.
I do too.
Local, national level, state level. We need to build up leaders, and we need to look for them. We need to identify them. And if they're not showing up to monthly meetings, if they're not showing up at state convention, then we need to go find them. I know it takes time. I know it takes resources, but I don't want to see repeated debates like we had last week on any level.
Right.
That is embarrassing.
Right. It is.
It was embarrassing. And, and I just reading the I've told followers I'm a Facebooker. I'm not a TikToker like Matthew. And I just knew what it was going to be like that next morning. All the comments.
Yeah.
And, there was a lot of it I couldn't authentically disagree with.
No.
It was painful.
It was.
Anyway, yeah, neither one was as sharp as they were just a handful of years ago. And
again, that speaks to and why do we necessarily rely on I don't see us doing a lot of recruiting. We kind of rely on who wants to put their hat in the ring, and then we vet them in private at little luncheons and things like that, and fundraisers, and see who we want to back and support. And that's great. That's cool. But we're not really recruiting anybody.
We need to intentionally do that.
Thought about this? Because honestly, whatever you feel aside, when Trump ran and we thought, here's a businessman who's not a career politician, who's not into it for the politics, wants to do the best for the country, and just that was his intention. I know you don't agree with how he did it.
My eyes just got big as saucers.
All
that's
right,
all.
I'm just saying. But that's, we were all excited about that because we're finally somebody
he
who's
energized.
not a career. Absolutely.
He energized a certain segment of the population.
So, why aren't we out there recruiting other successful businessmen and women and just
or
say,
from
like,
other
hey,
industries?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can't think of one right now that I'm not either annoyed with or boycotting, but in I'm sure they're out there, and just say, hey, man, your stuff is on fire right now. Why don't you consider doing this, or consider,
Elon Musk?
Yeah, not on my list. Starbucks not on my list. American Airlines not on my list. General Motors not on my list. But there are CEOs out there. Yeah. I think recruiting's kind of a fail too. We don't go out and seek these people out.
Well, right. You need to have the bodies to succession plans. So, and it has to be intentional. It's not just let's just pick with what we have. You need to go out and you need to recruit. Absolutely, absolutely. All right. Well, this has been a good conversation, and we agree for the most part.
Yeah.
I never knew about Ben Carson. And that you were a big fan of Diego.
He worked his butt off for that. He really did.
You know what? So did I.
Absolutely. No argument. No argument.
I'm just trying to get the conversation away from him. Anyway, well, thanks for joining us, viewers. And until next time.
Till next time, we'll see you.
All right.
The opinions and views expressed on Who's Right, What's Left are Matt and Melissa's solely. They are not necessarily the views of the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, or either of the participants' employers. We'd like to thank our production team at Influencer.tv. For more information on how to start your own podcast, check them out at Influencer.tv.
And don't forget, you can like us on Facebook and Instagram. And you can listen and leave your 5-star review and share on both Apple and Spotify. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
These are important, critical conversations we all need to have with each other for the future of our country. Remember to be polite, make it fun, and we can all agree to disagree.